Polkadot is about to change forever, ladies and gentlemen, with the new proposals put forward by Gavin Wood at Decoded. Is this a good or a bad thing? Well, we're not only going to be discussing what these fundamental changes are to Polkadot, but whether we think it is a good or a bad thing. And actually, I'll let you in on a little spoiler before we even get into it all. I actually think that Polkadot is going to do far better with this new model it is looking to move towards than it currently does with the parachain model. We're going to be breaking it all down in this video. We're going to be doing it kind of back to front. We're going to first start with the current issue that the likes of Gavin Wood see with Polkadot's current model of leasing out slots. Then we're going to move on to the proposed solution. And then we're going to finish things off with the vision for Polkadot. You guys will know, certainly if you've been following this channel for any length of time, that we are massive Polkadot fans. We really do think DOT is an innovative blockchain that is changing the blockchain and potentially the financial space forever. Let's get into it all in this video, guys. Without further ado, let's start off with a quick overview of the current model for Polkadot. Now, the current model for Polkadot is Polkadot as the relay chain, and you have these things called parachains that are essentially the equivalent, but very different to the likes of dApps on Ethereum. So if you want to build on top of and harness the Polkadot ecosystem, right now, you can do that in the forms of a parachain. In order to become a parachain, you need to essentially win a slot auction. This requires a lot of DOT, which essentially eliminates a large sector of developers who wish to develop on DOT from doing so. So there is a real push away from this model into this kind of model, the blockchain space system for boundless innovation. Get your Web3 ideas to market fast with economics that work for you. So instead of a parachain model where it's very select and it's a very high barrier to entry, they are now moving to a kind of core space model, which will kind of very much align with Polkadot's vision of becoming a supercomputer. Let's now dive into a clip of Gavin Wood talking about the current problems with Polkadot, current model of why he sees some sort of an issue with the current slot model. So without further ado, guys, let's go in and play the clip.
Cores are agile things, right? They're very general. And in principle, they don't deal in terms of like fixed jobs. It's not like a core can only have one thing on it indefinitely. They can change what job they're doing just as easily as a CPU in a modern machine can alter what process it's working on right now. The time slicing is obviously a bit more coarse-grained. Rather than it being on the millisecond level, it's on the second level. But nonetheless, the principle is the same. And when we're talking about things on a very global basis, altering on the second level is actually pretty damn good. If the cores are such agile resources, it only makes sense that the procurement of cores, the procurement of this resource, should be agile as well. And the slot auction model is most certainly not agile. It's designed on the original basis of Polkadot, the original perspective, the original paradigm, long-running single chains. Indeed, it was only some years into the development of Polkadot that parathreads as an idea arose. And even this was only a small portion of the way to the correct, I would say, paradigm, to the paradigm that correctly models, or most closely models, what it is that we've actually built. Now, the problem with the slot auction model and it not being agile is it creates high barriers. It creates high barriers into the Polkadot, into the space of Polkadot, Polka world, whatever you want to call it. These barriers, some of them are merely perceived, but a lot of the time they're actually real barriers. If you have a tinkerer, someone who's, like I used to be and a little bit still am, who's just playing around with some technology, such people, or at least if, placing myself in that particular role, wearing the tinkerer hat, I don't want to be bothered about raising tokens or marketing or finding other people with whom I can. I just want to deploy some code and see if people use it. Kind of like open source approach, right? And by forcing them into this model, I believe we lose a lot of potential collaborators.
So that was Gavin Wood talking about an issue that has invoked a kind of new model, I guess you could say, or a new vision perhaps for Polkadot in regards to it moving from a slot-based model, which we've just previously shown in the form of parachains, into this kind of model that kind of mimics a computer with lots of CPUs or cores that can rent those CPUs out at a lower basis. So instead of these para chains and these kind of para threads, they'll all come under this kind of core and core time model, if that makes sense. This kind of a model here that we're looking at, where you can rent, and depending on your needs, depending on your sort of price, I guess, of being able to rent these different core times. So let's look now that we have addressed a problem with Polkadot, or not a problem necessarily, but a point of pain, if you will, that they are looking to address. And this is just, by the way, a proposal. This is not a guarantee. Polkadot at this stage and the foundations that are associated with it do not have the power to say, this is what we're doing. Remember, Polkadot at the heart of it is decentralization. You guys will get to vote on this model. Let's now look at actually Gavin Wood's solution for this issue.
So I'm going to put forward a possible future agile Polkadot, if you want to name. We depart from the leases and the slots model. And rather, we accept that Polkadot is this bunch of compute cores. Cores in a ubiquitous computer. Time on these cores, which we might reasonably call core time, although across the industry is perhaps also considered block space, can be sold periodically. Periodically, core time can be bought and used. Here's a proposal. To Polkadot native sales, this is Polkadot native in that it's not secondary market, it's primary market. Bulk and instantaneous. Bulk would be a monthly sale, every, say, 4 weeks, periodic, of core time. You buy core time on one core, lasts 4 weeks. Instantaneous would be similar to what the parathreads pay-as-you-go model that we said is now sort of on demand, as the nomenclature has changed, but the principle is the same. There is an instantaneous market for usage of Polkadot, and specifically usage of a core in Polkadot. There may be many cores that you can buy at once, maybe not, who knows? That's the point of the market. It's an ongoing sale of core time for immediate usage. Doing this, we remove a lot of the opinionation that is present within Polkadot, and therefore remove the potential for long-term design flaws. We maximize the agility. We maximize the potential for the market to figure out the details.
Spoken like a true Austrian economist, allowing the market to do the work. So I actually think that this model is very interesting that they're moving towards. I love the agility of it. And I actually think it's now going to open up a world that was somewhat closed to the developers out there. And developers are one of the most, if not the most important resources, not just in crypto, but in the kind of world that we live in today. And I'm all for this model. The question is, I've got a couple of questions. What does this mean for current parachains? They did actually say that there would be sort of special allowances for the ones that are already there in regards to maybe continuing the kind of periods that they have. And also, what do you buy these core times in? Is it DOT? That's going to be huge for the demand of DOT. Not only that, developers will likely come up with these weird and wonderful use cases for DOT and increase the demand massively. So I think this is actually going to cause an absolute volcanic eruption for the native token in regards to demand, and for the Polkadot ecosystem as a whole, which is very cleverly designed as it is with things like XCM and everything in between. The final clip I have for you guys is, and this is what I mean by it's kind of back to front, the vision for Polkadot. You know, what is Polkadot trying to be? And this vision of going from where we currently are with around about 45 parachains, it's currently capable of around about 50 parachains, to this kind of vision of having 500 to 1,000 parachains. Let me tell you, you are very early in crypto generally in regards to Polkadot. You are really at the starting line or just past it. And I think it has a very bright future ahead of it. So let's go ahead and let's play a clip, or the final clip that we've got for you in regards to the vision for Polkadot, what it's trying to be, what it's trying to become, and the future and what it holds.
The corruption of intention. So what is, if we look at Polkadot in a much more general sense, what is it? Well, it's a provider of very resilient, general purpose computation. And I say continuation computation, a bit technical, but it's basically like it's not that you have a job and you do the job and then it's done, right? What we actually want to do is have a sort of broad, long-running task that can sort of do some stuff and then kind of pause for a bit and then maybe do some more stuff later on. Broadly speaking, continuations. And in this sense, I'm going to dive back into, I don't know when it was, 2015, 2016, when I sort of had this world computer language. It's a bit like that. I think it's time to sort of reconsider Polkadot in these terms. All right, so if we do reconsider it in these terms, how can we look at Polkadot? Well, it's a computer, like a modern machine. It's a multi-core computer. It's not single core anymore. We now have many different cores. They all operate at the same time, doing different stuff. So far, so good. And it turns out that in this model, blockchains that sort of operate on a core are called parachains. In fact, more specifically, blockchains that kind of have a reserved core to continuously operate on, they're called parachains. All right. So now we understand parachains within this new perspective, this new paradigm. Let's think a bit more about the Polkadot computer. Well, the Polkadot computer, supercomputer, I mean, you know, it's more powerful than a regular computer, probably. It has around 50 cores at the moment. These cores are continuously operating, continuously running, and they're all independent of each other. So they're all going in parallel. And for what it's worth, the original language of parachains sort of came a bit from this, parallelized chains. Now, having done some benchmarking, have an idea for optimizations, and over the course of a few years, models suggest that this can go quite substantially, well into the hundreds. So when we think about what Polkadot is delivering in these terms, it does start to feel more like a serious computational resource.
So we'll probably leave that there. You know, you get the kind of idea of what Polkadot's trying to become and how Gavin Wood is essentially proposing fundamental changes to the model of Polkadot that see it enter a more inclusive, for developers and utilized universe, where it acts as a kind of supercomputer, a super blockchain that helps to allow people to do whatever it is they want to do in a cheap, secure, and efficient manner. This is a future that I'm absolutely on board with, guys, and I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section. So we have covered the recent proposal for Polkadot, the issue that it's trying to address, first of all, the solution, and then actually the vision for Polkadot and where it's trying to go to. And with only 45 parachains currently available, guys, I'm looking forward to a future where there are hundreds, if not thousands. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all in the next one.